Hello, I'm Ben, and this is my podcast where I share interviews, tips, and ideas to help you build a better marketing strategy. This podcast features a walkthrough of creating a content page using the WordPress Block editor, along with some tips on how to lay out content. Now, this is just a short clip taken from my Pro Club webinar, WordPress walkthrough, number 10, I think, which was recorded at the end of last year. The WordPress editor has changed a little bit since then, but fundamentally it works in the same way. Enjoy. First thing we want to do is start building our website. So I'm going to go to Add Pages and create our first homepage. So let's click on Pages. And by default, WordPress is likely to have a first page in there called Sample Page. So we're going to just use that as our basis for the homepage and go and edit that. So in order to edit that, we just click on the title and that's it. Now you notice I've been in here a little bit before while I was practicing everything. So it's come up with some auto saves. So I can close that. But it's good to know that broadly speaking, WordPress will save your content as you're working with it as an autosave. So if for some reason you lost power, you might be able to come back up to a reasonable version that you're editing before that power was cut. It's useful, but I would only use it as a backstop. I wouldn't rely on it. I would certainly, if you are editing something, is not to leave it in a draft state and not have it saved at all. It's better that you can try and save it down or update the page as you go to make sure everything is saved. Or if you're unsure but you don't want to publish it yet, publish the changes, just make them in a Word document and then you can copy them in afterwards. Okay, so let's go through a few things on this page. It's already pre-filled out the title for us. We can see it's called Sample Page, and that's going to be the main title and H1 in this particular theme. So it's the main heading at the top. Also, we've got the main content down below. Now, this uses a new editing feature that people who haven't used WordPress for a long time or haven't got the very latest version of it. In fact, many of our clients won't have this option yet, but it's called Gutenberg, or the Gutenberg editor. And this is a new development, came in, it's been developed for a long time, but it came into use in December last year, I believe. And it really is the way forward for developing most sites and working with most content, I believe, into the future. I think one of the problems that WordPress had is it was starting to fall behind in terms of ease of use of making pages and pulling content together, and then how you lay those things up. And it either meant that you needed to know your HTML very well in order to customize that content and put it how you want it and lay it up how you want it and color it how you want it, or you needed to use third-party plugins that allow you to develop things. And certainly programs or web content management platforms like Squarespace, Wix, and almost Shopify to some degree had slightly better content editors that allowed you to do everything in a more WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get approach. However, WordPress has this now, and actually I'm a big fan of it, and it works very nicely. So this is just our main page, quite simple now. We've just got the title, we've got this thing called a permalink, which I will come back to in a minute, but basically tells you what the link of that page is going to be, and then the main content. We've also got this Yoast box down the bottom, so this is where we can customize SEO, and we'll come back to that if we've got time. But for the moment, let's just roll that up. And then on the right-hand side, we've just got a few options. And this box where it says document block, this is context sensitive. So it will change depending on what I'm clicked on and what I can use. So if I click on the main page, then I get options to do with the main page. If I click on the body and I add blocks in, then this box on the right will change depending on what is available in the box. So perhaps the easiest way of showing this is to start adding content and showing you how it works. So what I'm going to do is I've got some content on the right-hand side, sorry, the left-hand side here. I'm just going to start adding in. So there's our title. And then the content, we can just copy and paste it in. Now, what you might have seen is now all of these are split up into different sections. And so these are Gutenberg blocks. So if I click on the first one, it's a paragraph block. And actually, the nice thing about this, because we've entered it as paragraph block, we could drag that paragraph around. So I might want to actually move that paragraph just to underneath that copy. But let's put it back for the moment. Also, if I actually want to make that subtitle a bit bolder, I want it to stand out. I don't want it to be just default font. So I've got two options for that. I could either just do what a lot of people do, which is just to embolden that text, and that would work. But I want to use HTML as it was designed. So what I want to do is actually make that into a heading, because making it into a heading gives Google a better idea about what that content is on the page and what's important to you. Now, let me explain that a little bit. The main heading at the top, the best accountants in Cirencester, that when we look at the page will actually come through as a heading 1 or heading level 1. And that tells Google that this is what the page is about. And if we're thinking about search optimization, these are the keywords that we want to focus on. Very similar with headings too. And I can actually change what is a paragraph currently. I can click just on this little block type and I can change it to a heading. And that's fab. By default, it goes to a heading 2 for us. And that's nice. That's going to make it stand out a little bit more on the page and make it easier for us to look down the page and read it correctly. So that's really useful. What else do we want to do? I think we've got book a finance review call today. So that's our call to action. I think it's always important to have a call to action on a page to allow for people to do something. If they're interested, then you want to allow them to make it as easy as possible for them to take that forward, whether it's to buy something or to get in touch with you. But I want to link that through to a contact page, which we haven't done yet. So we'll have to come back and touch on that. Let's see, is there anything else I want to change here? Maybe we want to add an image in, make it look a bit nicer. So we can do that. So if I go to the top here, and you'll notice if I hover over certain sections, I can get these little blue plus arrows. Now that allows me to add more content. So I'm just going to add an image to the top. Click on the plus icon. And we've got different options in here. In fact, there's lots of different blocks we can add. And you can even search for them. So as you build up over time, you might get more plugins that add blocks. WordPress might add more blocks for you. And there'll be a lot to search for you. So you can actually, once you know the name of them, just search for it in the top. And I just want a standard image. And I want to upload something to our media library. Now, I've got something pre-prepared on the desktop. I will just show everyone. Let's do a quick preview of it. Got this lovely old guy with a fantastic beard and this beautiful yellow jumper. So he is going to be our figurehead of the company. He's going to be the owner. But before I upload that, and this is really important, and I did touch on this in our image editing, is I'm going to edit the image name to be reflective of what is in the image. So in this particular case, I'm going to edit it and we're going to put John Doe, because that's his name, accountant profile. Oops, helps if I spell that correctly. So John Doe accountant profile. That's great. It's a nice high quality image. It's about 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. I'm also going to run it through our image processor and compressor called Image Optim. Now that's, if I drag the image, it's just down here. I can drop it on there, a little box pops up, and it's going to tell me how small it can shrink it down to. Now, I must be honest, this is probably, that was a 24 meg image because it came straight from an image library when I was running through today. Your images may be smaller than that or larger than that, but you can see it's done a huge job on this JPEG, compressing it down to one megabyte, or say 1.8 megabytes. So that's an amazing saving, really. And this is important. It's important to have your images at the right compression, because when they got to WordPress and you have maybe a very large image and people are trying to download that, it's going to take them a lot longer to download it. Now that may affect every single one of your customers coming to visit the site, but also Google as well. And the faster your site can be, the better chance you've got for optimizing your site against your competitors online. So that's been optimized. We actually saved 92%, which is great. I can just click on desktop here, click on my image and choose, and that's going to upload it in there. Great. So it's just loading into position. That looks great. That's really nice. What we can do is we can preview that page. So at the moment, we haven't saved anything, but I can preview that page. And this is really useful if you want to just make a few edits to a page, see what it looks like before you commit anything. So I'm going to click preview just at the top right. Now we see we've got the title as a H1. We've got our main image, a little bit of text, a subtitle, which happens to be styled with a little line above it, but it really does depend on the theme that you finally use to whether it has that. for more text, and then the call to action, which we're going to work on. As part of the default theme, we've also got this metadata and widgets down the bottom, which I want to remove. I don't really like them there, so I'm going to come back and make sure we remove all of that. You'll notice also the preview is opened up in a separate window, so I can leave that there, and I can actually just jump back, and I can flick between them, and every time I click preview, it's going to open up that sample page. That's a really nice editing workflow for me, is to make sure you've got 2 pages open. Let's change things slightly. While I quite like that big image, I perhaps want that image to be to the side of that first 2 paragraphs of copy. So what we'll do in Gutenberg is we're going to add in, I think they're called columns. So I'm going to add some columns in there. So now we can have two sections, 2 sides to these columns. So I can actually have this image on the right-hand side and the text on the left. And you do that by finding the drag handles, which are these little dots, just moving them so it sits into the right place. And I'll do exactly the same here. You've got to watch out for these blue lines, because that marks where your content is going to land. You can see that throughout the site. So I want it to land just in that left-hand segment. And we put the second one here. Now, there's a couple of bugs, I think they're bugs, in this WordPress editor just at this time, which once you know, you can work around them, it's fine. It's just small little things. But you'll notice the editor, once you have a bit of content in these columns, the editor, if I want to drag and drop something, it looks like it's going to drop that bit of text just above the lorem ipsum above. But it's not. I know that because I have my text positioned slightly below, it'll actually drop it below. And there's a couple little bugs which I believe they've got ironed out in the new version coming out. It's a minor thing, but it's irritating for new users. So it can be a bit of a pain for them. Let's remove this bit of content at the top. So let's go in and remove that block. Yeah, that looks good. Let's preview that. See what this looks like. Great. While I like that big image, actually now what we can do is balance that image out with the copy on the left-hand side. So that works really well. Now, obviously Gutenberg is the newest editor. A lot of our clients still use an editor called Visual Composer or Visual WordPress Bakery. It works in a very similar way to Gutenberg. It allows you to have blocks and objects within those blocks. And it's very similar in Visual Composer. You can add a row in and have multiple columns within that row, then drag in images and text and other things. So the principle is very similar, but I just thought it would be worth showing you how things are done nowadays. Okay, that's looking good. So let's leave that there for the moment. I'm happy with that page, and let's go and make some of the other pages that we need to link to. So once we're happy with it, we can press update. Now, the reason it says update here is because this page had already been created. As you'll see with the about, blog, and contact pages I'm going to create, they will be new. So we'll have some slightly different options at the top. So, one other thing I do want to change is permalink. Now, as I mentioned, the permalink forms part of the URL that you can access this page on. Now, I'm just going to change this to home, but because it's the home page, actually this works in a slightly different way to other pages, and that this URL slug or permalink is not used, or certainly we don't need to use it, but I want to call it home just because it makes a bit more sense for me. So let's update that page. Great. Now let's make some new pages. So we go back over to the left-hand side and under pages, click on add new. And I'm going to do these very quickly. I'm not going to worry too much about the content for these pages, but I'm just going to show them being created so you can see how easy it is. So this is going to be about, I'll call it about us. I've got a shortcut for lorem ipsum, so let's see if I can put that in. And that just dumps in a load of paragraphs for me. That's great. I think that's all we need for the moment there. Let's see the permalink. If we click on this and we just publish this, and then we want to publish it straight away. And you'll see that's the difference. Rather than updating, because we haven't made this page before, we're going to be publishing it. That's great. And it automatically makes the permalink up based on the title I put in. You can change that if you want. You'll be able to come back and close that section, and then you can go and change that URL slug and permalink. But most of the time, it'll be fine with what you want it to be there. The only difference would be is if you've developed a new website or you're developing a site and you just want to improve the search optimization a little bit. And that's where these URL slugs really come in. So that page looks good. So let's create a new page. Oh, this has come up because I had come back into the editing mode. So let's just update that again. And now add new, and we want to go to blog. Now this will be a special page because I'm just creating a page called blog. And what I'm going to tell WordPress to do is put all the blog posts on this page. I don't need to put any content in here. And in fact, if I did put any content in, it wouldn't show because WordPress takes over as its blog page to display everything. But just for convenience, it's nice and easy to actually just put this page in. So I know what it's called and I know what its URL is. So that's done. And then our final page is contact. And I've actually got some content to put in here. We'll change that one to heading. By default, it's heading 2, but you can actually change that. By default, you should only have one heading 1 on a page, multiple heading 2s for each core section, and then if you need, heading 3 underneath that. Heading 4, 5, and 6 tend to be, certainly in WordPress, used for sections that they could be widgets off to the side, they could be subheadings in the footer. I don't tend to use these in content at all, but they are used to define headings that are outside of the main content. I tend to just use H2 and H3. That's generally enough. So we'll go with H2. We can align that differently as well if we want, but to keep things simple, we're keeping everything left aligned. What we also should do on here is we'll hyperlink the email. So, I'll just correct my spelling there. What we want to do is just hover over the link we want to make. And if we press link here, sorry, let's do it again. Copy the text, press link, and then to make a special email one, we just type in mail to, and then the email we want to send it to. And it could be, you could make that text, please email us, and then you highlight email us and make that link. Or actually, I prefer to actually highlight the email and show that you're clicking on the email. And then we click apply, and that's done. So let's preview that, make sure that works. Brilliant. That opens up nicely. Let's get rid of that. Great, that works. And let's close down that preview. So let's publish that page. Great, that's done. I think that's all of our pages sorted. So let's go back now to the home page and just link up our call to action to the contact page. So we'll go to pages. We can see all the pages we've created here. And I want to go to this one. Oh, just while I'm here, let me show you Quick Edit. It can be quite useful, particularly if you need to change the author of a page. So this one, it says RI admin, because actually when the site's created, it creates it with the admin account for the network, but I want to put it in my name. So let's click on Quick Edit. And what I can do is I can change anything very quickly here from the slug or the permalink, the date it was created. That's more useful for page posts later on. The author, I'm going to change that to my account. Also, you can quickly turn things on and off, make them draft. If you need to just quickly take that content online, draft's probably a really good way of doing that. Okay, brilliant. So that's good. Let's go back into that page using edit. Oh, you'll notice that Quick Edit, you've just got a few options to do. It opens very quickly and you can save it very quickly. It's actually quite a nice way of doing it, but you are very limited on what you can do. If we go into the main editor, let's make our this into a link. And let me just show that again. I whiz through it a bit quickly. You select the text you want to link, you click on the link icon, and you can just start typing the page that you want to find, you want to link to. So I want to go to contact. Brilliant. But I tell you what, we can make that a bit more exciting. Let's make that into a button. And actually, Gutenberg has default buttons built into it. So let's leave that text as it is. And what I'm going to do is we'll just add underneath a button. And we can search for this just by typing in button. And where it says add text, I can click in there and paste the text I want, which is exactly the same. And then using the same search feature, we can just type in contact and it finds it for us. Now that button is linked. So now if someone clicks on that, they'll go straight through to the contact page. Sometimes it's nice to have the text associated with or near buttons as well, just in case people see that. Some people actually prefer links to buttons, not sure why. And let's make that a nicer color. So we've got these default range of colors at the moment, but we can actually go, so I can make it a darker color or a gray, or let's go for an exciting orange. There we go. Wow, look at the power of that. So we can make that an exciting orange, and then maybe I can change the text color within it. Oh, let's go for a Belcher button, orange and blue. Actually, the contrast isn't particularly great there. Let's try that one. No, let's go for black. A Belcher button, for some of my customers may know, but it's a guy who's doing an experiment on different buttons. His name was something Belcher, and he experimented with different color sizes and so on, and came up with orange with a sort of dark royal blue text was the best performing button in terms of people noticing it and clicking on it. Let's leave this and say book a free finance review call with John today. Just add a bit more information and tell you what, let's make those centered. So we've got different options that depending on the Gutenberg block you use, you have different options that appear here. I want this one to appear in the middle, and also we want this block of text to appear in the middle as well, just so it stands out. That looks good. Let's preview it. Brilliant. And if we click through to this, it goes to the contact page. Excellent. We've done well. Right. So moving on. Actually, let's go back to the preview. Looking at this is fine, but at the moment it just has our domain at the top, which might be bestaccountants.com. And then just another WordPress site. That's quite default in WordPress to have that. So let's just go and customize those few bits as well. And to do that, we need to go into Appearance and Customize. Now, depending on how the theme works, this will be different, but on the default WordPress themes, they have a few options to customize to allow you to change the look of the site. So we're going to Customize. I can leave this page because it was saved, I believe. I can't remember. Let's just stay on that and update it. And once that's done, there we go. You can go into Customize. And we've got a few options down the left-hand side. And what's nice is it gives you a little preview of the page so you can see how they're going to look. So first thing we're going to do is change the site identity. And I'm going to change this title to, you know what, we're going to call them Yellow Jumper Accountants. And we've got strapline as well in there. Xero and QuickBooks Specialists. We can also add a logo in as well. So I've got my default logo style here. These are quite cool. These are little graphics we use when we're mocking up a wireframe of a site. So we can just put content in really quickly to see how it fits and not worry too much about the imagery. So we actually use a lot of these, which is quite good. So we're going to select that in there. You also, depending on the theme, get to crop the image. In this particular theme, it's square. And then you can see it popping up in that section, which is great. We are also going to add a menu in, because you'll notice there's no menu to any of our links. In fact, we're just on the default blog page at the moment. So that's something we need to do. So we're going to menus, and we're going to create a menu. I'm going to call it main. And that's our primary menu. And you can have different menus. You can have one for the footer. You can actually have maybe two menus, a secondary menu that sits at the top. But we're going to call this one main. And we're going to add some items into it. And I want to add home, about us, blog, contact. Just add in those default ones. Yeah, that looks good. And I probably want them in that order as well. Great. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And you can see them on the right-hand side, just starting to add home, about us, blog, contact. Yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with that menu. If you found this podcast interesting, you might like my marketing club. You can join for free to receive regular tips and advice so you can become more effective in marketing your business. And pro members get access to my live webinars every month, just like the little clip you've seen, along with all previous webinars. And there's even a podcast version you can listen to while you walk the dog. Find out more by visiting ratherinventive.com/club. That's ratherinventive.com/club. Bye.